Welcome to another episode of hashtag iSocialTalks. Brian Fanzo here, known as iSocialFans. I'm missing the fans on my license plate, but iSocialFans. Coming to you today with another episode. This is episode 14. I know I started off this journey by saying I wasn't going to do episode numbers, but I was quickly convinced that I was wrong, and it was too hard for some to realize which ones they had listened to and which ones they wouldn't. So we were episode 14. We got past episode unlucky 13. And today I'm coming to you with a kind of a spot-on question. The question was asked to me today on Twitter. It was a DM that was sent to me, and it was a very simple question. And I thought, wow, with that question, how many ways I could answer it? And so I went to type back, and the 140 character limit would have taken 30 tweets probably. So I said, that's a great one for iSocialTalks today. So the question came to me, simply asked, why or when did I fall in love with social media? And I guess the question was around the idea that they've heard me speak or heard me talk about my passion for social and the reason I really love what I'm doing and love social media as a whole. And to them, they were wondering, well, what spurred that on? Where did it click? And so there's a couple different spaces and times and things that I thought of when I was first asked when I fell in love with social media. And social media to me has been an interesting journey. I remember being a big fan of MySpace way back when MySpace was there. And I loved MySpace. And actually before MySpace, I think I've talked about it in previous episodes, I was a Napster generation. I was 1999, a freshman in college, and had a T1 connection in my dorm room at Radford University, and was able to burn CDs and download via Napster, and actually make a really good amount of money selling burnt CDs before it became an illegal practice back then. And the nice part about it was I would use AOL Instant Messenger, Yahoo Groups, and a internal collaboration tool that we had at Radford to really spread the word and communicate and collaborate with a lot of the people that I wanted to, either outside my fraternity or even through my hockey team. I played hockey there at Radford as well. And so for me, that was actually some of the early days of social, where I loved being able to not only engage and see what my friends were doing, but there's a little bit of love that I like to show off and do and show what's going on in my life. And I like to think of it as I wrote a blog post about humble bragging and the idea that we need more companies and brands to inspire humble brags. Great examples is I have some sitting right here, and this is very impromptu, but Sprout Social sending me some cool, very nice letter and a nice little note and some stickers. Very easy for me to humble brag. I shared that out on Instagram. Buffer sent me, I talked about it in a previous episode, some cloud stickies and one of their cool little their little notes, just letting me know that they're giving me a shout out and talking about Cloud Talk, which hopefully everybody's tuning in Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, a new community that I've kind of kickstarted, and they do a great job of giving me some humble brags. Meshfire, which was another one. Meshfire actually sent all of their ambassadors and influencers the new book by the Unmarketing Crew, which is the Unselling, which I will be cracking open hopefully tonight, actually. And so that's an easy humble brag. They gave me something. I gave them a shout out and some love, which I already love these companies. Sprout Social, Buffer, Meshfire, those are tools I already love and use. But the simple idea of them giving to me inspired me to humble brag across every social network, even adding it into my blog post. So that idea of humble bragging is really something that I've always been drawn to on social media. And there's an element of social where I use automation and I use technology, but at the same time, I love the personal angles. I love meeting new people, collaborating with new people. It's that cocktail party without any boundaries. It's the when we talk social selling on Social Selling Hour, I always say it's the foursome on golf that you always do business with. You can collaborate. Everybody says I learned golf growing up because my dad said it was a good idea because all the business is done there. And for me, the social atmosphere is that ability to do that and collaborate and meet and do business and build relationships without any boundaries. I have great friends in Australia, the UK, Dubai, APAC. So when it comes down to those kind of things, I think social just broadens our horizons, and we've been able to meet and be inspired by so many amazing people. So when I think about this question, I said when I fell in love with social. And for me, I always had loved social, but I didn't think of it as a career until about a year ago. And that might surprise many of you because I was using social business. Social business was my main style of work, where I focused on training and building social business solutions where we collaborated, we internal communication, and really I was really stuck and really loving that world. And I used social media to learn, to engage. I've always been someone that used YouTube videos to learn my crafts. I didn't major in cybersecurity, but I took a job in cybersecurity, and I excelled fairly quickly where I was managing a global team. And I was always asked, well, how did you do that? Well, you didn't even major in it. My answer was YouTube. YouTube was the easiest way for me to learn. And most of the time, if I watched something on YouTube and found value, I could tweet the person that did it and then build a relationship with them, and they would end up giving me more data and more ways to learn. But the first thing that came to mind when I said, hey, when did you fall in love from social? It was a pretty funny moment, and I have to give a shout out to Vala Asfar. And if you don't follow Vala, you're not really in tune to the social world yet, because Vala is a great guy, a must follow, sharing lots of great tech, marketing, CMO, C-suite information. And he's the CMO over at Extreme Networks. He does a Friday talk that has inspired me to do some of the community things that I do called CXO Talks. But I remember Vala, I tweeted Vala it was a while ago. I'll have to figure out that when that tweet was actually sent. It was probably 2 years ago. And I had just finished his book on social business excellence. And I had just said, hey, I really appreciate that you wrote this book giving us so many hard, concrete facts about social business that I could actually implement. I remember taking it into the CEO and saying, hey, this is what they did at these companies. You need to get off my back. You need to embrace what I'm doing. And I tweeted this out to Vala, and I think it was probably 10 minutes later, he replied back and with like, wow, I'm so glad you liked the book. What was your favorite chapter? And I remember running in and kind of going to my wife and say, hey, remember that book I said I loved and that person I've been following and reading about? He just tweeted me back. And yes, I had been tweeted back by other things, been retweeted. But for me, this was an engagement that felt so authentic and real that it got me so excited about what could possibly happen on social. And I can honestly say that conversation, that tweet that I sent out, has Vala as a personal mentor of mine, someone that I've had numerous conversations with, someone that I've been lucky enough to get career advice from, and someone that the conversations only started online. We had been in the same circle of people, even been at the same events, but never met in person. Yet I was inspired, I'm led by, and I'm daily motivated by things that Vala does. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. Another one was Tim McDonald, a great guy on not only person, but just a great human being when it comes to not only how he acts, how he thinks, how he talks, but he's just a amazing person that I met through social, got to meet in person a couple times, and he was one of the first ones that I went up to give a handshake to, and he's like, we're social friends now, we hug. And to me, it was like, wow, not only did the social no longer have to have an icebreaker when you met in person, but this was my friend. This wasn't just someone that I connected with. This wasn't a networking buddy or a follower. This was a friend I had on social. So, a cool shout out, this is how much Tim gets it, is Tim sent me a nice little note, a handwritten note just the other day, thanking me for helping him with a No Kid Hungry campaign that meant a lot to him and now means a lot to me, a passion and a charity that I am excited to help endorse. And if you guys are out there, follow the hashtag Team No Kid Hungry or Team NKH on social and retweet, get involved. Right now they're doing a big sale, so I definitely recommend getting involved and doing some things there. But the other elements of social and kind of what I fell in love with social is I use the hashtag power of social. So power of social for me means people that I'm connected with, people that I believe in, people that I'm working with. Rachel Miller, who I co-host Social Selling Hour with. If she recommends someone for me to follow or a product for me to look into, or maybe a website that I haven't read their blogs from, I immediately go and do that. And it's really the power of social. Rachel and I work together on a lot of projects, but thanks to social media and the engagement and the relationship we built, I now trust and utilize her insights and her recommendations. That's influence. And that influence is really what social is all about for me, because I don't believe a commercial when it says it's the best place to eat. But I go look at Foursquare or Yelp, and I go look at my community of people, and if they say it's the best place to eat, that holds a lot more weight to me than what a brand says on its website or what a brand says out there. So for me, social is that ability to connect without boundaries and really find my influencers, find my, I'll use a quote from another great person to follow, Phil Cominari, who works with robots and pencils. And he always called it his personal learning network. And for him, his personal learning network was if he had a network of people, he brought some people into his inner circle, his personal learning circle. And those are people not only that he learned from, but he felt like he could build an amazing relationship and group with. And my friend Keith Carnes, who I often refer to as my Yoda for advice and mentoring, he always, he would always talk about his circle and his people that he wanted to go in business with one day. And I know that, he not only is he in my circle, but I'm in his circle, and he's someone that I look forward to partnering with or doing business with in the near future, as he's a wise beyond his years, even beyond his gray hair that he has. And so it's Keith_OD on social media, which all of these links, all of these people, I'll make sure to put in the show notes, I promise. But when I think of what I love about social, it's about engagements and interactions that are only made possible via social media. If you watch Social Selling Hour this past week, we had Tamaya McCleary on, and we had so much fun. It was an amazing thing talking about relationships and the power of connecting and building these relationships, how brands have to really focus on these relationships. And I met her only through social media, and not only am I inspired by her, not only with her cause and what she does in a professional life, but also her personal stories. And I don't think if it wasn't for social media, I probably wouldn't have been able to connect and understand those stories and those elements. So I love the question. Keep the questions coming. As always, please hit subscribe down below. Share this on social media with your friends if you enjoy iSocialTalks. I'm bridging into a new podcast version that hopefully you guys will enjoy. It has me a little up in arms on what I'm going to do, but hopefully you guys will tune into that as well. Share this out. Like I said, everything will be in the show notes. Keep your questions coming. iSocialTalks. Use the hashtag iSocialTalks on any of the social networks. I have some awesome social listening tools that will definitely let me know if you guys are using that to ask questions. So thanks again for the person that will remain anonymous for asking the question. But I fall in love with social again each and every day because I get to meet new people, and these aren't followers. These are new relationships and friends and business partners. So when you think about social, don't think about your follower numbers. Think about those one-to-one conversations that will turn into friendships that will build communities. I've been blessed to have people like Vala Asfar, Tim McDonald, Ted Rubin, Jay Bear, Gary Vaynerchuk. I can still remember when Gary started following me on social media. That was a big, it didn't matter what list I was on. When Gary thought I had enough value that he was following me was a big deal. These are people that aren't not only doing social, but they're living social. They interact, they engage. I recommend following them. And I appreciate you, the community, for not only listening to me and asking me questions, but feeling like my insights can help you. So keep the questions coming. It's a iSocialTalks episode 14, and I will talk to you tomorrow or maybe later today. Keep the questions coming. I'm inspired today. Maybe I'll do another episode today. Cheers.